Man, it is sad to say, but this is the video that marks the beginning of the end for our bootcamp. After today's video, we're only going to have 2 videos left on Thursday and Friday, rounding out our 10-episode bootcamp. I hope you guys have been enjoying it. I've been loving making these videos, but I do want to talk about this being the beginning of the end because now you guys have the foundation. You guys have taken everything and you guys should have retained that information, taken your notes, and you should start to apply this to your trading. And now we're actually going to do that. Okay, we're going to start to talk about strategies, talk about how we can actually apply this to our trading, right? So in today's video, like you guys saw on the thumbnail and the title, we're going to be talking about ORB, our opening range breakout. This is one of my favorite strategies, and this is a strategy that has made me over 6 figures in the last 3 years alone. Now, I don't say that to brag. I just say that so you guys can understand how profitable this strategy can be if you use it correctly, right? So we're going to talk about everything with ORB, what ORB is, how to draw it out, how to execute these trades, all of that. Now, before I do continue, if you guys do like ORB at any point within this video, I highly recommend that you guys click our free link in the description down below. Join up on our free Discord where we have a one-of-one bot that is going to go out and scan the market for the best opportunities and do all of this hard work for you, and then just send out an alert that you guys can easily understand and take after watching this video. Now, once again, those are free alerts. We have free education, and we have free education on the ORB and also on our bot itself. So you guys have free access to that. And if you guys do want to join up on premium, we have over 25 stocks being alerted every single day with our ORB breakout strategy. So that is a great thing to take advantage of. I really hope that you guys do. Now, other than that, we are going to get right into this video. And lastly, 50 likes on this video, free eval tomorrow morning in our live trading session. Once again, all you have to do is drop a like, subscribe, click the first link in our bio, join up on our free Discord. You are instantly entered into our giveaway. That's all you have to do. Now we only have today, tomorrow, and Friday for more opportunities for you guys to do this. We got it on the very first video of this entire bootcamp, and we haven't gotten it since. So I'm really feeling like I want to give away an eval, but I also want to see you guys get to 50 likes. So let's see if we can do that this video, and let's go ahead and jump right into our ORB trading strategy. Now, when trading ORB, what ORB is going to be the first 15 minutes of market open. So you're waiting for the first 15 minutes of market open, and we are going to draw out the high and the low of that range. So for example here, these are 5-minute candles, okay? And these are the first 5 minutes of market open. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out the low of these candles. I'm going to call that our ORB low. I'm going to mark out the high of these candles, and the wick is included, by the way, and we're going to call this ORB high. Now, I also personally like to do opening price, so this would be our opening price right here where the candle opens or where market opens, okay? Now, once we have this is our opening range. It's super easy. Now, once we have this opening range, now we get into the parts where we need to follow our rules. What we are going to do now is go from the 5-minute and switch to 2-minute time frame. Okay, once we have switched to the 2-minute time frame, we are going to wait for a breakout and a retest on this 2-minute time frame. Wait for a breakout and a retest of ORB. Okay. On this 2-minute time frame, we want to see a breakout and a retest of this ORB, right? So whether that is breaking out of ORB high or breaking out of ORB low, that does not matter. We want to see a breakout and a retest. We know what that looks like, okay? We know that a breakout and a retest and a continuation, okay? We don't want to see something like this where we just shoot right out. We don't want to see something like this where we come back and retest it from the other side and then start seeing something like that. You don't want to see that. You want to see a nice little retest and then a continuation down. So something like this where no matter how far down we go, you want to see some kind of retest, and that would give you an indication that we are going to continue lower, right? So that is what our beginning of ORB will look like. You draw out the first 15 minutes of time of market open, okay? And actually, let's go ahead and write down all of our rules. This isn't going to hurt anybody, okay? Mark out first 15 minutes of market open. Once we do that, we switch to the 2-minute time frame. Okay, and we wait for a breakout, for a breakout. Dude, I can't type today. Oh my God. Wait for a breakout and retest of ORB. Okay, now once we get this breakout and retest, okay, now we can start talking about what we are going to see. So let's use a bullish example here. Let's start drawing out some more candles here. Let's say that we break out on the 2-minute time frame and we see a nice little green candle right here. Well, that's great. That's perfect. Okay, let's say that we even got a nice little wick and we saw something like this where we got to see that opening price was respected. We see really bullish price action. We see that we were getting bought up really nicely. Well, we see this candle close over ORB high. What are we going to do? Well, we're not going to enter yet. We're going to wait for the retest. Okay. So what our retest is going to look like is something like this, where we have a candle, whether it's red or green, it really does not matter. Okay. For this example, let's actually go with kind of an ugly candle, right? I'd rather go with something ugly and then you guys get, pleasantly surprised by the beauty. All right. So here is a red candle that we come back, we retest, okay, and we push off a little bit. We don't see a huge push, but this is enough to give us an idea that we possibly have an entry. Once we see something like this, all we want to see is something or a move of some sort that is going to push us in this direction upwards, okay? Because we want to enter a position that looks something like this, okay? And we want to enter a position where we are looking for orb to continue to break to the upside. We want to continue to hold this orb level, okay? And we want to see a break up to the upside, right? So we see this retest. And of course, if we see a candle like this on top of the retest, that's a clear retest candle, okay? But anything where we are seeing the wick come in and then push out, that is a great retest candle. A lot of the times after a candle like this, you will see maybe a little bit of consolidation. Then you will start to see a larger candle like this. And I will show you guys an example because this is the exact trade that happened today. I'm literally drawing it out, okay? So once we see this retest candle, well, we're going to look for our entry, right? So candle closes right here. We're going to go ahead and look for our possible entry. Take this entry and you guys can see we absolutely bang. Now, one thing that I do want to note, and this is where I'm going to get a little bit adjusting here, you are going to be putting your stop loss at the breakout candle's wick. So obviously this is a bit of an exaggerated example. Let's say that our wick looks something like this. All right, so we're going to put our stop loss at the bottom of this wick or slightly below this wick, okay? So let's say our candles ended up looking something like this, right? And this would obviously have to be green, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's say we just saw something like this, right? And we see this breakout, we see this retest, we see very bullish continuation, yada, 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 right? We see this retest, so we're going to go ahead and look and take our entry, right? Once we take this entry, we are targeting, once again, 20% for options. We're on 20%, we are going to sell half of our position. At 50%, we're going to sell everything but one. Okay, so we're taking half of our sells. If you have 10 contracts, you're selling 5 of them up 20%. Okay, you're selling the other the following 4 up 50%, leaving one contract for your 100% runner or your cool screenshot, right? But you are not going to be sticking in these plays trying to get 1,000,000% every time. It's not going to happen. But I'll tell you, 20%, 50%, those small good wins, and 50% is not bad. I mean, that's 10 years of market action, right? In one trade. So take your 20%, take your 50%, get the hell out of there, go off, touch some grass, do whatever you need to do. But don't think that these are going to be trades where you're going to take 1,000,000% every time. That's not a strategy. There's no strategy out there where that works, okay? Be realistic with this. Take your 20% and be happy with it. Take your 50% and be ecstatic with that. If your runner goes and hits 100%, take the week off. I mean, dude, go hit the slots. Like you got something there, right? So we know that we have now waited for the breakout and the retest. Once we do get that retest, take your entry, okay? Targets are 20%, 50%, and technically, let's just say 75%. Or for futures, which I like to trade most often, we're going to go 20 points, 50 points, and 75 points. But it's the same exact thought process of when we do hit 20 points, I'm selling half my contracts. When we hit 50 points, I'm selling another 4 out of the 5, and I'm leaving 1 or 2 maybe for 75 points, right? Now with futures, you can do this a lot easier because you don't have to worry about things like theta, right? So with futures, I'm able to extend my profits a little bit more. That's honestly why I like futures. But we also know that our stop loss is at breakout candles wick. Okay, so we know that these are our conditions, okay? This is what has to happen for us to enter a trade. We have to mark out our first 15 minutes. We have to switch down to the 2-minute time frame. We have to wait for a breakout and a retest of orb. Breakout and retest, okay? So for example, if we see something like this where we don't come back and we don't retest, right? So say this candle closes like this and then we see something like this, right? And it just shoots up. That's going to happen. It's going to suck because you aren't able to take the trade. That's fine, okay? This is going to happen. You know what else is going to happen? If you were to enter right here, cool, you make profit on this play, but I'll show you something. This is also going to happen, okay? And I'm going to show you guys a great example of this in a second. This is also going to happen where we're going to come all the way down or come down back into the zone. You're going to get stopped out immediately because you didn't wait for this retest, right? So it is very important to wait for your retest. Take a screenshot of this. It will be very, very useful down the road for you. But let's go ahead and use a real example. Okay, this was an example that we took today on our live trading session. Okay, so let's go back and switch to the 5-minute time frame. We know that we're going to mark out the first 15 minutes of price action. So we see our orb high right here. Okay, we also see that our orb low is right here. Okay, and for some theatrics, let's go ahead and mark out these first 15-minute candles. Okay. So all of these candles that are in this little red box that we're now going to turn teal is our 15-minute range. Okay, so from here to here, I don't want to end it. 1, 2, 3, 15 minutes. Okay, we're marking that out. Then we are waiting for a breakout and a retest, right? So we're going to switch down to our 2-minute time frame. We're going to wait. And this is a great example. What did I tell you? We don't wait for our retest. You enter this position here, and what happens? All right, so I'm entering this position right on the break. What happens? I get absolutely murdered, immediately stopped out, and I've now lost money, right? And then say you're on like a cash account. Well, you just blew all your money for the day. And instead of waiting for that breakout and retest, you're done. You can't take any more trades. And what happens 10 minutes later? Well, we get this beautiful breakout. Okay. Then we get this retest. And now we're going to start to add all of the confluence that we have talked about. Okay. You're going to find anything that is going to help you, right? What can we find here? Well, we can see that we have a bullish fair value gap. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that out. I understand that there's a bullish fair value gap here, and I understand that we are going to look for a retest of orb and now this fair value gap to give us two great ideas that we are going to continue higher, right? And what happens? Well, we retest this fair value gap and continue to push off of it, and we retest orb to continue to push off of it. So where do we take our entry? Well, we take our entry right when this candle closes, showing that we are pushing off. We are putting our stop loss at the bottom of this fair value gap, or since this is kind of a larger breakout candle, we can go to the bottom of this body. Of course, these things are going to be things you need to adjust. It's not always going to be perfect, right? But you need to judge this. So for this example, we'll go right below the fair value gap and then target whatever our targets are going to be, 20%, 50%, 75%, or 20 points, 50 points, 75 points, right? So this should be very, very clear, very, very easy. This is really all that this model has, okay? There's nothing that is too confusing. Now, like I said with the bot has much more confluences coded into it. It needs a lot more to happen, and that's why those plays are so accurate, right? And those are things that we are going to also teach in our premium and coaching calls that we have coming up here. So a lot of those things are kind of intuitional based, and that's why it's kind of hard for me to teach here. It's something that I kind of need to talk to someone one-on-one or on a group coaching session to really explain those intuitional side of things, right? Finding your fair value gaps is a great start. Finding to see if we are going to target, say that this black line right here is yesterday highs. Well, are we going to, sweep these highs and push back down? Do I need to take my exit there? Or do we have, London session highs right here, and we're going to see a sweep and push back down? Whatever that's going to be, you need to find that for your targets. You need to find that for your entries. You need to find that for your stop loss. And that is why we taught this entire course the way that we did, right? Because of this, okay? Because of how useful this strategy can be if you use it correctly. And I'm telling you right now, this strategy sucks butt if you don't use it correctly. Every strategy sucks if you don't use it correctly. So please make sure that you guys are following these rules. If you need to go back, take a screenshot of this, go for it. This is just your basic intro to your orb. So let's go ahead and actually draw out kind of a bearish example of this. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and use a bearish example of our orb. Let's go ahead and say that this is our orb right here. We have orb high up here. We have orb low right there, yada, yada, yada. Let's say that we do retest and we push off. Okay, now let's go ahead and change all of these to red so it does look right. And this is another example of a great entry for orb here. So yes, we see that we are pushing down off of orb. We see that we break orb right here and we get this beautiful retest. So we're going to go ahead and take this entry right here. Go ahead, find our targets, yada, yada, yada. Put our stop loss at this candle's breakout right here. And then with our opening price, because we have drawn that out, this is another great area for you to find either resistance or support. If we were to come back up to this opening price range, expect some push off. Whether that is for the bullish side or for the bearish side, you are going to see some kind of support or resistance at that level. That is opening price. Breaking that is not always the easiest, so that could be another level for you to look for once we do retest. Like say this candle's wick comes up to this opening price. Well, this is a great example that not only did we reject out of orb, but we did reject out of opening price, right? So that is a way to look at the bearish examples. And I want to go show you guys a bearish example here because we got one a few days ago. This trade right here, we were able to take an absolute monster bag on this one. And this was a great example of what we need to look for. So once again, mark out our first 15 minutes of price action. We can see and highlight that this is our range right here. Okay. So this is our 15-minute range right here in this blue box. We're going to mark this out as orb low, and we're going to mark this out as orb high. Okay, perfect. Now, once we do that, we are going down to our 2-minute time frame. Okay, and let me get back over here. I don't know why my shit does not stay where it needs to. Now, once we do get this, this is an example of exactly why we need to wait for this breakout and retest. Okay, so look, this breaks, but it doesn't close outside. It doesn't retest. So we didn't get anything there. This one breaks out, but it doesn't close or retest, okay? Well, this candle finally breaks out. We don't get a retest here, but we do get retest candles here. Now, this is a great example. This candle right here is an example of a retest, but you're not going to take this because we close back into orb. You want to wait until you see a candle like this following it. So where do we take our entry? Well, we take our entry here. We put our stop loss at this breakout candle's wick up here. So this is our breakout candle. We put it at the wick. Then we go ahead and target to the downside. I remember when we took this trade, we had yesterday lows right around here. Okay. And so that was our main target, right? Of course, we're still taking trims up 20%, 50%, 75%, all that kind of stuff. Okay. And really, this is the funny thing. Okay. This right here, this trade, this second candle right here is over 20 points. Okay, so if you size correctly, right, you can pass the day for your funded. You can get halfway past for your eval, depending on how you size, right? But you can do just this move, make all of your profit for the day, and be done. Okay, now, of course, yes, you can extend it down like we did, right? But starting out, take your 20 points, then watch the market, see how it goes, see how the market moves, right? Then you can start to add on, say, okay, now I understand that 20 points get hits, 20 points get hit 80% of the time once we break orb, right? Well, perfect. I see that 50% or those 50 points get hit probably about 70% of the time. Okay, well, I'm going to, take that risk sometimes where I'm going to sell some positions at 20 and I'm going to leave a little bit of risk on the table, go break even after we hit 20 points in profit, and I'm going to try and get 50 points because I see that happen 70% of the time, right? Well, those are the things that you need to start running through your head because with this is another amazing orb. And like, I'm trying to find more ways to talk it up and talk about it, but it's really just so simple. I mean, you simply mark out the first 15 minutes of market open, you switch down to your 2-minute time frame, you wait for a breakout and a retest, you take your entry. That's it. That's it. It doesn't matter what you're trading. It doesn't matter when you're trading on, honestly, besides it needs to be market open. Okay. Now I do want to talk about some examples when the market is ass. Okay. So when the market is pretty butt, this is an example of when the market is not too great. Okay. So let's go ahead and mark it out again. This is our low, and this is our high up here of orb. So orb high and orb low. Okay. And this is going to be something that really we're going to be teaching in our group coaching, but I will mention it here. Okay, so I really do like this type of entry. So when we see fake outs like this, where we see an orb retest, right? We could have taken this trade and realistically, we might have, okay? We get this breakout, we get this retest. This is an example of when it doesn't always look perfect, okay? But of course, we aren't taking the trade right when the candle closes. We obviously want to see what the next candle is going to present, right? So this next candle opens and immediately shoots down. Well, we're probably not going to take that trade now, okay? That is where the intuitional side of things comes in. You don't want to just take this trade right when orb closes, right? Because technically speaking, this may have been a loss. If you did follow everything to the T, you would have entered right off this candle and you probably would have taken a loss, right? But what we see is we want to wait and see what this next candle is going to present, see if it's following the same outline as this, right? And we want to see if we can continue to push off. You want the breakout, the retest, and the continuation, right? Now, we don't get that. What we do get is a pullback into orb. When we get a pullback into orb, I use my Fibonacci extension, or my Fibonacci retracement, I'm sorry, and I look for a bounce in our golden zone. Okay, and I don't want to be giving away too much sauce here, right? So this is our golden zone, and we are looking to take an entry out of this golden zone. So once we see a bounce out of this golden zone and continuation, we are going to look for our entry. Well, we end up taking our entry right here and playing this all the way up through orb, okay, with our stop loss slightly below this or below our golden zone. And this is just a banger trade. So there are a lot of different ways to do and trade orb. Okay, there's a lot of good ways, there's a lot of bad ways, there's a lot of ways that you could probably go find on your own that might be just as good, if not better than mine. So I 100% recommend that you go do that. But what I am trying to get at here is that there is going to be great examples, there's going to be bad examples. You need to start to understand what good orb and bad orb looks like, right? We're not always going to have great price action. We're not always going to have a great orb, right? And here's an example of a not great orb. And this is actually a trade that we took and made a bag on, okay? So here is our orb right here. Look at this, okay? So we get a breakout on the 2-minute, then we break right back in. No retest, we're not taking that, okay? We get a breakout. Now, this is another example of your intuitional, things. Well, I remember watching this candle, and obviously when this candle opened, it just absolutely shot up, okay? absolutely shot up right through opening price, which is right here. Okay, your opening price is right here, absolutely shot up and then absolutely poured down. Okay, now that's somewhere where I see indecision. Although this candle looks bearish, and it is bearish, we saw that absolutely huge buying pressure, then we saw absolutely huge selling pressure. I'm gonna wait and see what the market's gonna give me. Well, the market gives me another entry right here, and this is probably the entry that we would have taken, right? And we did take this entry. I'm sorry, we took this entry for a $67 loss. So I want to show you guys once again the wins and the losses here. And we didn't put our wick all the way up here. We put our wick at opening price, pretty immediately got stopped out just for $67. Then following that, we continued to wait, right? So this is an example, and I want to show you guys this because I don't want to act like we win every trade, we do everything perfectly. You're going to make a mistake. I make a mistake. I've made a mistake. I'm showing you that mistake, right? Time to be transparent. Okay, we lost $67 on that. Now, what do? We don't pout, we don't mope, we sit around and we wait until we can see another opportunity. So this was another great opportunity that we could have taken, but we waited until we could see this move right here where we got a clear close outside of orb, then we got another clear close outside of orb. Okay, so we get this clear close outside of orb, but we get a retesting candle that's kind of breaking into orb, then we get another break into orb, then we get our breakout, then we get our breakout, right? So we enter this trade after this candle closes right here, and we take this trade down, making I think like $740 across 2 accounts. So this was a really, really good trade from us. And this isn't something that's going to happen every day as well, right? Market's not always going to be bad, okay? But that's great. I like to show you guys the bad examples because that's what you guys should use for your foundation, because when you guys see a good example, it's going to feel like, you know, the clouds are opening, Moses is spreading the sea for you or whatever. Sorry for the sorry for the gulp. But seriously, damn. And this is just a great trade because you are able to wait and take this trade after we actually break out and we retest, right? So if we switch down to the 5-minute time frame here and we go back to the same trade, where is she at? We go back to the same trade right here, okay? Now this is an example of, once again, bad orb. We get this breakout, you enter off of the end of this candle, but this is also the thing where your intuition comes in again, right? We enter when this candle closes and we put our candle at the breakout wick. Well, perfect, right? We never get stopped out. We don't get stopped out here. We don't get stopped out here. Yes, it's not pretty, but we don't get stopped out. You know, it's not a great looking trade. I wouldn't have taken this putting our wick all the way up there because your stop loss isn't favorable, right? But at the end of the day, this is still a good orb trade, and that is why you have to follow these rules, because we know we put our stop loss there for a reason. I've taken the time, I've done the research to find that when we do break out, a lot of the times we do not come back up and retest this top wick right here that broke out, right? We do continue down. Now, in this example, I wouldn't have put my wick all the way up there, right? This is too big of a stop loss, okay? Realistically, I would have gotten stopped out for an L, okay? And this goes back to what we were talking about. If you are taking trades where you are following your rules, okay? Listen to this. If you are taking trades where you are following your rules, if you follow every single rule possible and you lose the trade, that is just part of the statistic. You are not going to win every trade. You are not going to win 90% of your trades. Okay. But if you can win 60 to 70% of your trades, that still means that you are going to lose 40 or 30% of the time. What I just showed you is the 30%. This is the 30 or 40% of losses. Okay. Yes, it sucks. If you can't handle a loss, okay, you need to either size down or find something else to do, because trading is going to kick your butt if you cannot deal with a loss, okay? But when you do everything correctly, like we showed here, waiting for your retest, your breakout, we take a small L and then a big win. But say we just took that small L for the day. That's fine. We lost $67, okay? We're going to come back tomorrow, right? And this is the thing with having different models, because I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about our BV model, because following this, we were able to find our fair value gap with our liquidity sweep right here, okay? Marking out our BV model, and we were able to follow it up by taking this trade right here, where we put our entry right there, our stop loss below this fair value gap, and we took this trade all the way back up to orb high, okay? So let's say we took our loss over here, okay, but we continue to follow our strategy, continue to do all that we can, what we are in control of, and we end up taking this trade right here following it, because that's what we did. Okay, well, then you're perfectly fine. Okay, but if I would have sat there and I would have been bitching and moaning, right, yada yada yada, and I'd be like, oh, I want to take this short because I'm late now. Well, I'm going to enter here and then just immediately get stopped out. That's the kind of shit that's going to happen if you're not paying attention. The kind of stuff that's going to happen if you are paying attention is you are going to take this second trade. You're going to see, okay, now my rules are more defined, and I'm waiting for a more specific and actual, you know, answer right here for the trade, something where we're getting a 5-minute breakout, we're getting 2 minutes out of orb, we're seeing us reject out off of opening price, breaking out of orb again, retest and move down, we're taking our entry, we get this banger trade, and then following that, we know that we swept lows because that's what our target was those PM lows. Once we do sweep those PM lows, we're waiting for another bounce. Once we get that bounce, we have our 2-minute fair value gap, and we're waiting for a possible entry inside and out of that fair value gap. That's exactly what we get, and that is exactly what happens, right? So staying to your plan is going to be very, very important with this, and if you don't, you're not going to be a great trader. And I say that not to be a dick, okay? I say that to give you guys an idea of what trading is going to be like if you don't take the time or take this serious, okay? I didn't take it serious for a while. I lost a lot of money. Started taking serious, all of a sudden I started making money. I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy how, you take it serious, you make money, you take it not serious, you lose money. Who would have thought about that, So that is something that you guys definitely need to think about. This is essentially all that we need to talk about with Orb. Once again, I do want to cover this, and this is marking out the first 15 minutes of market open. This is your Orb. This is your opening range, OR. This is your OR, opening range. Now, we need the break. We need the break part. So we're going to switch down to the 2-minute time frame. We are going to wait for our breakout and our retest. That means that we now have our orb, opening range break, right? So once we get that, we want to see that retest on the 2-minute time frame. Once we retest, you can look for your entry. Wait until the candle does close, okay? Both for our breakout and for our retest candle, okay? And I would highly recommend to even wait on that third candle to see if we do get some sort of continuation, right? Now your targets are going to be 20%, 50%, 75% for options. Selling half of your positions at 20%, selling everything but 1 or 2 contracts at 50%, and then selling everything completely at either 75%, 100%, or whatever your running target is, okay? These are just general rules. Now, 20 points, 50 points, 75 points for futures, and your stop loss goes at the breakout candle's wick. Once again, if that candle wick is insane, right? If this breakout candle's wick down here is like this, right? Let's say it's even crooked, right? So let's say our breakout candle's like this. Well, obviously, you're not going to put your stop loss. You're obviously not going to put your stop loss all the way up here, right? You're not going to go, your position's not going to look like that. Okay. If that's the issue, just find a range, find an area for your stop loss. Okay. Find somewhere where you can put your stop loss, whether that is, slightly above this candle, this retest candle. Okay. Or at the end of the day, just go 1-to-1. Okay. Whatever 20 points is, put your stop loss at 20 points if you can't find a good area to put your stop loss if the wick is too high, or if there is no wick or something like that, right? So make sure that you guys do understand that, because that is another very important rule. But essentially, this is all that Orb is. Orb is one of the easiest strategies out there. It is one of the most profitable strategies out there if and only if you're able to follow the few rules that come with Orb. If you aren't, you are going to get killed. If you aren't, you're going to get killed with any strategy, all right? So please, please, please make sure you guys are watching and following along with this, okay? If you guys need to go back in this video, take some notes, write things down, please do so. Now, I do want to show you guys one more thing, and that is going to be really quickly. Let me pull up my little Discord here. And I want to show you guys a little bit about what our actual BuzzBot is and what it does, because I think that this is really nice for you guys to see kind of how we actually do this. Okay, so let's go ahead, add a new screen, yada, 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 yada. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and now do what is going on here. All right, so some technical difficulties here. That's nothing that we haven't seen before, right? Okay, so I want to show you guys a little bit about our actual Discord here. So taking a look, this is going to be obviously the Discord. And this is where we send out our alerts. This is where all of this kind of fun jazz takes place. Okay, so with these alerts, okay, this is our BuzzBot channel where you guys can learn about BuzzBot. This is free. This is free. I'm trying to tell you this because it's free. Okay, I'm not charging for this. This has all of our video references, more YouTube links. This will tell you where we do take our trades, how to take them, how to treat this bot, when to take these trades, when not to take these trades. And here's an example of our free alert. Once again, a free alert. QQQ, $2 to $3 above the current price, 0 DTE. The current price is 607. So what are we going to do? We're going to take a call, $2 to $3 above that strike. That's it. You're done. Take that play. Make sure, of course, that you are watching the charts, understanding the charts, but this is what comes of it, is an absolute banger, right? The banger that we showed you guys today, because Orb is put into play. Orb makes some crazy plays, right? Now let's go ahead and quickly take one more look at our premium. So premium is really, really nice. We have premium where we send out these alerts to And then for options, we have a bunch of these alerts. Okay, we have a whole shit ton of alerts here where we are sending out the big players every single day. Things like Tesla, things like AMD, Palantir, Nvidia, Google, Microsoft, things like that, right? Then we also have our futures, things like silver, gold, and MNQ. These are absolutely killer, right? So these are very, very useful. Make sure you guys are checking these out if you do need, and you guys are already going to be joining up on the Discord because we're going to hit 50 likes on this video and you guys want to be entered into our free eval giveaway. So I will be seeing you guys over in the Discord. Now, tomorrow's video is going to be very, very important on our BB model as well. So make sure you guys do not miss out on that. But that is all I have for today in this video. Now, if you guys did stay until the end, I thank you very, very much. I did do this in one take, so I'm low-key pretty impressed with myself. Let's go ahead and leave that as the comment down below. Can you comment one take if you guys made it until the very, very end? But yeah, that is all I have for you guys today. I hope that was a good example of what ORB is and how to use it. If you guys do need more information, I will put more of our information into that BuzzBot channel. If you guys do click the link in the description, join up for free. All of the other links for that are in that channel. And then we also do have more videos here on YouTube. So if you go scroll through my YouTube channel, you guys can find through our education playlist, you guys can find more information about ORB and the BuzzBot and all that kind of stuff. But that is it for me. I'm going to go ahead and head out here. But yeah, once again, comment first take or one take or something like that. And I will catch y'all in the next video.